But there's a bigger thing, I think, within the Muslim world, which is worth mentioning, which the late Bernard Lewis pointed out on a number of occasions, which is the great problem within Islam when it comes to not just Judaism, but the wider non-Islamic world, is that the Muslim religion claims to be the last revelation from God to man, which, as we all know, is a very large claim to make.
He's zeroing in on another really important feature of that's behind all these conflicts, that hey, we've got the last and final revelation. He doesn't bring this up, but we're the best of peoples, you're all the worst of creatures. We're supposed to dominate you all. That's the way it is. But he's about to go into something I've pointed out here, and it's very very important for everyone to understand the psychology of what's going on here. But check this out.
There have been previous revelations, but this is the last and final one. And what's more, God has given you a book, the Quran. And the Quran is the one book you need. The opening, here is the book wherein is no doubt, which is quite a bold claim as well, I'd say.
Wherein is no doubt.
No doubt. The claim at the foundation of Islam is, here is the book wherein is no doubt, and it's the only book you need. And it's the final word from God that man will ever have. Now, if you are the recipients of this book, the people who end up either converting or being forced to convert to Islam, and eventually the areas that Islam takes over by force, if you are somebody who's brought up in that tradition, you would think that being the recipient of the final revelation from God, you would be in a just tip-top situation.
Are you getting this? This is awesome, right? He's going into the psychology, right? Like, hey, again, he doesn't bring up best of peoples and so on, but that's the idea. We're the special people. We've got the book. Everyone else, they've got stuff that's now outdated. We're the basically, God's chosen people for dominating and subjugating the entire world. We've got this book that is the absolute book of all books. We've got it. And what's wrong? What's going to be wrong with all this? What's going to bother you? The fact that everyone else seems to have a massive advantage over you in technology and money, everything else, right? Anyway.
You would imagine that, well, this is going very well. We've got the final revelation from God. What's not to like? What's not on our side? And then several things happen in the millennia since, which is, first of all, many, many Muslims realize that despite having the final revelation from God, things don't seem to be going very well.
Yeah, they sure don't.
Until oil is discovered in certain parts of the Middle East, most people live in total destitution.
The people point out you have nice areas now. That's just because they're sitting on a massive sea of oil. If it's not for that, that is not a place anyone wants to live. That is not, most people wouldn't want to live there now, even with the nice places, unless you're like Andrew Tate and you're just looking for a place to flee your crimes and so on. But not the sort of place anyone wants to live. And is this the way it's supposed to be here? No, we're supposed to be the greatest land, the greatest people. Everything is supposed to be great about us. And it's almost like our book is holding us back. That's weird.
Yeah, there is a thing. You can find these comparisons on the internet as well, like these old photos or reimaginations of what Saudi Arabia looked like at the beginning of the last century, and what it looked like at the end of that very century. It's like, there is a difference between New York at the beginning of the 20th century at the end of it, but the difference between Saudi Arabia at the beginning and the end is huge. In the beginning, it just looks like, there's nothing, just, stones put up on each other. There's nothing there, and now it's full of skyscrapers and stuff like that. It's insane.
Powerful stuff. But this is guys, this produces resentment, right? It's, hey, we're supposed to be dominating the world. We're supposed to be dominant in everything. We've got the book that contains all the knowledge that we need to be the greatest of everything. And it doesn't look like it's working very well at all. And if we didn't have a sea of oil right under us, this would be like the crappiest place in the world to live, the heart of the Muslim world. Is this how things are supposed to be? No, we're supposed to be dominant. Why is it? And it causes resentment. Well, maybe there's a Jewish conspiracy that's doing all this.
discoveries and enlightenments of Europe largely passed the Muslim world by. This shouldn't be exaggerated. Certain parts of the Muslim world, of course, give the Western world certain parts of what becomes the Western European tradition. So there were times of interplay. There were times of mutual learning. And now, of course, everyone looks back at them, or many people look back at those times with nostalgia. Nevertheless, in the main, the Muslim world cut itself off from the rest of the world and didn't care to learn from the rest of the world, didn't improve the economic conditions of its people, totally failed to create societies anything like as successful as, for instance, European societies.
And by the way, Pete, I mean, we've talked about this many, many times before, but I mean, to this day, even now that they're drenched in oil, where do Muslims want to move to? They all want to move to the West. Like every country, they want to move to the West. And so even post finding seas of oil and being extremely rich, they want to get out of there and come to a different country. Among the kuffar. They'd rather live among the kuffar. And all these dawah guys, where do they want to live? Among the kuffar. They like it better than Sharia. And then they come over here.
I don't know if that's true. I feel like many of them want to go to the Muslim world, right? They're all begging to go there, and people from the West, they're also flooding to the East.
Yep. People just can't find plane tickets.
Yeah.
And therein a question arises, which is, if we are the recipients of the final revelation, why is everything so awful where we live?
Why is everything?
And
suck?
then you have
Why does everything suck when everything is so, if think about this, guys, if our religion is true, why does everything suck? If our religion is true, everything should be awesome, but everything isn't awesome. Everything sucks. Therefore religion's not true.
Easy, but they couldn't figure that out.
the additional thing, which is, and how come the Jews return or re-establish of course, many Jews are already living in the area that's now Israel, but already lived there, but many others come from other parts of the world, including from the Middle Eastern countries where they're chucked out by the governments in 48 and so on. The Muslim world sees this tiny, tiny bit of land, which, among other things, is the only bit of the Middle East that doesn't have any oil.
But by the way, I mean, I want to watch this like 10 times. The point he's making here. We've got all this land, and then we end up with all this oil. It still sucks. No one wants to live there. The Jews have this tiny spot, which is the only place that doesn't have the oil, and they're about to turn it into the most advanced place there is there. And it just enrages them. Why is that one group able to do way more with one little spot than we can do with all our spots?
That is true. Israel is insanely advanced compared to the rest of the Middle East. Is making insane contributions to the world, to science, to innovation, to defense systems, computer systems, and so on, compared to the Middle East. The Middle East is the oil nations are now rich because of the oil, but they're not working, they're not producing anything. Whereas Israel is there on its own, surpassing all of them by far, and that's harsh.